Hello, and welcome to the Layman's Guide to the Multiverse, the podcast where we dive between the panels and break through the fourth wall to answer all of your comic book questions. I'm Paolo.
I am the one known as Doug.
I'm Ed.
And with us as always is our friend Matt.
Matt says hello. So guys.
Good job.
Thank you. So guys, what the hell is the multiverse?
So are we talking quantum physics here, or are we talking in comic books? I mean, remember, you gotta clarify the situation. Come on.
I mean, this is a comic book podcast, but let's mix it up. Let's go quantum.
Okay, so do we want to talk about like brain theory,
God,
inflation
no.
theory?
Let's talk about the comic books. Come on, guys.
Okay. I thought so. Just
well, all right. So the interesting part about
the
the multiverse, the interesting part about comics, at least in my opinion, is we absolutely have it both as a concept where we use it as story plot points. We use it as a writing tool to let people write stories that are out of context with the actual storyline of what's going on. And we do use it in our kind of our real life. Like pretty much anyone who writes fan fiction is technically writing a multiverse story.
So, you see, but what's weird though about comics though is it seems like it interacts more with each other. Like, the idea, it sounds kind of like we're talking about, like, ever see that show Sliders?
yes. Oh my God, that show is the greatest and the worst.
No, you mean the last time Jerry O'Connell had a career?
Yeah, clearly.
Get that paycheck.
I miss that, man.
Gimli the dwarf was playing a doctor.
Was he really?
Yes, that's John Rhys Davies.
What's even weirder about it too is that he's like a normal height. There is nothing more unnerving than seeing Gimli be like 5'10".
Look how many orcs he killed at like his dwarf size.
Well,
that'd be like Peter.
Listen, he's being a doctor. He's being a doctor in that show. He doesn't kill people on that show. Come on, Hippocratic Oath.
That'd be like Peter Dinklage being like 6'5".
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Got regular people hands now.
Oh
Who dressed him?
Oh my God!
Who dressed him? He didn't do it himself.
So back to
he needed help to put those books on. Look at him. He's adorable.
So back to multiverse and comic books though, because like the thing I always keep hearing about is like I saw a DC comic once, and I think it said like the new 72 or something.
The new 52.
I saw a comic
the
comic
book
52.
once.
I went to Walmart and was like, "What is this funny book over here? What the fuck is a Batman?"
Ironically enough, Walmart now actually sells a special issue of DC Comics that's only available at Walmart.
Walmart's got its own exclusive DC line. Get that money, Warner Brothers.
No, but
guys, our movies aren't doing well. Walmart, help us.
Well, that's why the nickname. I think a nickname for a lot of people regarding that DC. So speaking of the multiverse idea with the DC movies, we actually call it the nickname among some of us friends here is we call it the DC Murderverse.
It is its own canon Earth in the DC multiverse. Though.
Is it?
I believe so. I couldn't tell you what number, but I believe it's canon.
So basically, though, this DC multiverse, it's kind of like again, kind of like a Sliders, kind of like a Rick and Morty, where it's just parallel universes where everybody has their own story, but it differs, and I assume they're infinite.
Right. Well, at one point they were infinite, and then they weren't, and now they technically are again.
No, they decided that it was 52. Well,
no. Well, in Metal there's 53, and there's more than one multiverse.
In Metal, if I recall correctly, it was actually the whole idea of the dark multiverse was a mirror multiverse. That's actually worlds that never kind of came to be into
worlds that shouldn't.
Exactly, and they were infinite as opposed to the worlds that came to be, which are the 52 that the DC universe relies on.
I only say 53 because there is that scene with Detective Chimp when he's like, "Oh, greetings from the 53rd Earth," and he's got a bunch of different Batman with him.
Oh my God, that's right! I completely forgot about that scene. So, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was a recent comic series that came out called Marvel. Was it Dark Knight's Metal?
Yes,
yeah,
Dark Knight's
Metal. So,
and that's Night and not KNIGHT.
Was it?
Yep.
So DC, they have about as many alternate universes as Baskin Robbins has flavors.
Yeah,
So-
Almost double, but
Almost.
close.
Oh, Rocky Road Earth is my favorite.
So then how does somebody like Marvel do it differently?
They have generally relied on an infinite multiverse until recently with a storyline where all of the multiverses collapse into each other and into one reality, but that was a storyline, Secret Wars.
Oh, when Doctor Doom kind of
Became God.
became God pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next question. Which Secret Wars are we talking about? We talking about the one that was a pretty much just a big toy commercial?
No, that was from the 80s and a
okay.
travesty in a lot of ways.
The
But-
Secret-
I don't even know
yeah.
what you guys are talking
This
about
is so
anymore.
so in 2015, a writer by the name of Jonathan Hickman,
Ooh.
he kind of Marvel kind of helped pretty much put him in lead to write kind of the next phase of the Marvel storyline, so to speak. And his big plot point was this idea that the characters, this group of superheroes called the Illuminati, discovered that there was something going on in reality that was causing different realities to merge onto each other. Like they were collapsing into each other at certain points, and you would occasionally see episodes where the Illuminati, which was Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Black Bolt of the Inhumans, Namor, and at one point it was Captain America, but they decided that Captain America was too much of a goody two shoes for them, so they knocked him out and wiped his memory of the whole episode.
That's a dick
Oh,
move.
how Justice League to Batman of
Indeed. I forget who they replaced
and
him.
I believe you got
Did you say Xavier? Am I going crazy?
No, Xavier was
I don't-
part
I
of
don't
the
think
original
he-
Illuminati.
yeah.
And when
Reed
you say
Richards.
Illuminati, you're
I don't
talking
think he said
about
Reed Richards
heroes
either.
and not like Jay-Z and Beyonce Illuminati?
Yes, not Jay-Z and Beyonce Illuminati. Talking about actual heroes Illuminati. It's kind of like the Marvel kind of secret council who kind of they decide what everyone else is supposed to do, so to speak. Doug,
Did
you were saying something?
You mentioned Tony Stark and Reed Richards.
Yeah, I didn't mention Reed Richards. Reed Richards is super important. I apologize for not mentioning him.
No,
Reed
it's okay.
Richards.
Also, did you say Tony Stark?
I did say Tony Stark. I said Iron Man.
Okay, I wasn't.
How drunk was Iron Man when he was there?
Was he drunk
Not
at that
at all.
point? Not at all. Not at
No.
all. He must have left his bottle at home. So what they do is they decide that they're going to start systematically collapsing certain Earths to try to save the main, what Marvel calls its 616 Earth, which is the main Earth. And so the last issue before the actual Secret Wars storyline picks up is when the Ultimates universe, which was a reimagining of the Marvel universe that was made to be more reader friendly so people could pick up into it, collapsed into the main 616 universe. And
Those are the last two
So-
universes, for
Yes.
the record.
But like when did all this insanity with alternate universes even begin though? Like why is it 616? Is there any significance behind that number?
That is the
Because Rey Mysterio already had the monopoly on the 619 universe.
I believe that's because that is the
So-
address, the number address of their office in their building on their street.
in New York?
Yeah,
Really?
I believe so. Not 616 Street, but I'm saying that their building number or office number was 616, at least when it started.
Hold on. I'm looking this up right now. Corporate offices. Let's find out where their address is. Nope, incorrect. It's 135 West 50th Street.
Suck it, Doug.
Hey.
Google 1, Doug 0.
Sorry. No. I was
All
actually
right.
curious because I have one of my old coworkers actually works for Marvel now. He's one of their graphic
Oh.
designers.
Can he get a sweet merch?
Listen, I've been trying. I'm trying to get a job there, but let's be honest, the chance of that happening are slim to none. But back to the point of the
But with that attitude.
yes. Well, back to the idea of the alternate universes.
Back to the idea, you get a job at Marvel.
So- sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
So,
Go ahead,
you
Matt.
go. No, so basically then all right, so we have instances where they're using these multiple universes to get people to jump on easier, as you guys just had mentioned with the Ultimates. They're kind of merging it with the 616, like you were saying before. Now, I mean, how does this tie into the movies at all?
Ironically, the movies themselves are I think on Marvel's end, consider their own universe. So
it's
like the
kind of
characters,
like Star Trek, then.
so to speak, like the characters in themselves exist in that universe. And I've seen instances where in the comics themselves, they show pictures of the Marvel Cinematic Universe characters in panels where they're showing alternate universes.
Well, that's also funny because if I remember correctly, in a couple of the movies, they make reference to their comic books.
I mean, I want to say as recent as Logan, they were using like the X-Men in comic books as a plot point.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of exactly. 'Cause
Nah,
movie was
that's
amazing.
actually exactly a good point. I completely forgot about that in Logan.
Yeah, it's because you're too busy crying at that movie.
Oh
Jesus.
my god, that movie just destroys you.
Isn't this wonderful, Logan? That fucking
Oh,
scene.
no.
Don't remind
Oh,
me. I
no.
get so sad when I watch that version of Xavier.
Yeah, you know what makes it worse? That it's Patrick Stewart.
He's such a great actor, though.
I don't know what I'm gonna
He's
do when
Such
he-
a great actor.
Yeah,
Isn't he like 95?
something like that.
I mean, seriously, he's gonna die. William Shatner's gonna die in our lifetime.
Well,
It's a
I
bummer.
don't give a shit about Shatner.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about
The
Shatner.
hell with Shatner.
Well,
Oh, man.
because I always hear stories about how much of a dick Shatner is in real life, but I always hear nothing but great things about Patrick Stewart because he comes from like such a proper and prestigious Shakespearean acting career, and one day somebody's like, "Hey, you want to do Star Trek?" and he's like, "I need to eat. I'll do it.
He's like, I will totally
I'll
take that
do it.
paycheck.
Whatever.
So-
This isn't gonna fucking work." And then it took
then it
off.
did.
Yeah.
And
What-
then he gave us Picard.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
Yeah.
ironically, so one of the funny parts that I've in watching some of the documentaries that they have on TNG, he was a complete dick the first season. Like the first season on the show, he was like, "I'm a Shakespearean actor. You can't. What is this ridiculousness that you're making me write?" And then by the end of it, he was so chill and mellow with everyone that he was the captain of that entire crew. Not just the actual actors, but the crew
I'm
of
the
the
sheriff.
crew. Like all the light people, the makeup people, everybody loved him by the end of it.
He
I'm pretty
ran
sure you
that
said-
shit.
I'm pretty sure you said the light people, but I heard the white people. White people love Patrick Stewart.
Everybody loves him.
Oh,
That's not untrue.
That's not that is,
I'm
that is
gonna-
not true.
I'm gonna bring up one more Shakespearean actor fact. Speaking of Shakespearean actors, I always got to mention this whenever people bring this up. Did you guys know Leslie Nielsen was also another proper Shakespearean actor?
I remember hearing that he was like a really serious actor originally, and they thought like because his acting was so like stern, making him almost a straight man in these in these ridiculous movies would work. And lo and behold, it did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it really did though. It really
So-
did.
Oh man, I missed that, man.
That-
Like, are you gonna tell me Airplane's not fantastic?
Airplane's one of the best movies ever made, hands down.
Yeah.
So which alternate Marvel Cinematic Universe does that take place in? Because I'm pretty sure Disney now owns the company that made that.
What,
movie.
Airplane?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it works.
Guys, I can't wait to get my Airplane MCU crossover.
Well, DC has a crossover with Looney Tunes.
They do.
They did.
It's fantastic.
They did. Batman had a crossover with Elmer Fudd.
They did.
But how could he? It's not Brat season. I can't do a good Elmer Fudd.
Didn't Daffy Duck become Green Lantern?
Daffy,
Yes.
yes, in one,
Yes.
yes, Daffy Duck
Yes.
did become Green Lantern. However, his crossover was with the Joker.
Huh.
Really?
Yes,
Huh.
yes. Actually,
I
just
know they
recently that
did-
came out.
Yeah, that's right. They did do a villains line of that. I know they did Marvin the Martian and Martian Manhunter, which I thought was too good.
Did you actually read it?
Yeah.
I did not read that.
Oh,
I read some of the Batman stuff, and that was surprisingly good.
It sounds like it should be terrible though.
No, it sounds
speaking on the same kind of wavelength. Do you guys remember Space Ghost?
Yes.
yes.
Back in like 2004, I want to say it was like either anywhere between 2002 and 2006. They did a reboot of Space Ghost. I think it was like a 6-issue miniseries. Super dark and super gritty.
Huh.
It was really good.
I'll look that up.
Because I'm still stuck on Looney Tunes and DC because as you said before, it seems these days DC is like over the top with its darkness, and just whenever I hear Looney Tunes and crossover, all I could think of is like the T-shirts with the Looney Tune characters dressed up like crisscross with the clothes backwards.
Well,
B-boy stance.
Yeah.
being over the top dark. You guys saw that Titans trailer, right?
Oh my god, which is supposed to be its own universe as
Dick
well.
Grayson just yeah, that one also has its own Earth.
It's a really bad one.
So
To Grayson mowing people down with an assault rifle.
That kind of infuriates me because it brings up another point to this whole using the multiverse as a plot point. I'm sure you
or a writing
all,
tool, if you will.
Of course. One of the things you're all familiar with is the TV shows, the CW TV shows right now that are The Flash, Green Arrow, Black Lightning,
I was hoping this was
Supergirl.
going to turn into a discussion of Teen Titans Go, but we can keep on with that.
Well,
too.
no, we can actually
that
discuss
show's
Teen Titans too.
hilarious.
Teen Titans Go and their movie, which ironically was fantastic from what I've heard.
I mean, ironic. That show is great.
I haven't watched
like it personally.
I haven't watched it.
It's good. It's funny. It's really funny.
I'm unfortunately still angry about the fact that
Listen, get over yourself because the writers already have.
yes. I'm sure. No. Do you know you know what I'm talking about?
The entire joke of that show is, the people that like the old show hate the show because it's not the old show.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the old show. I'm talking about Young Justice.
Oh, right. Oh, there's also a Young Justice crossover with Teen Titans Go.
Is there really?
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah. The Young Justice characters show up drawn like the Young Justice characters. They look at the Teen Titans Go characters and they're like, you guys aren't taking yourselves seriously enough. Like you guys will never be real heroes. So the longer that the episode goes on, the more jacked and the more serious and the grittier everybody gets. Because everyone needs to get serious.
Well, that's just another example of how ridiculous the idea of a multiverse can be. Now, I mean, look, Marvel
cartoon's good.
Marvel did it in a very interesting way, and DC has their own method of doing it. But going back to Matt's original question is, when did this kind of start? It's kind of been in place all throughout the Silver Age of comics. Like a lot of the out of storyline things, like for example, Superman getting a divorce from Lois Lane, or the adventures of Superman and what was his name? His camera guy.
Jimmy Olsen?
Yes, Jimmy Olsen.
Camera guy.
His camera guy, Jimmy Olsen.
The guy that he's shooting that YouTube documentary with.
Exactly. No, he a lot of those stories are not considered canon.
Quote unquote canon.
Quote unquote canon.
But was it, because we're talking what, the Silver Age, what is that, the 70s?
No,
well,
60s.
I would even say that, you go back to yeah.
But I mean, like, was it just kind of like, oh hey, we wrote a story, it sucks, it's not canon?
That's exactly what they used to do.
Sometimes, yeah, but I want to say the first time that they really at least DC introduced anything was they wanted to bring back Green Lantern and the Flash and give them to different people, or I should say give the mantles to other people. But back in the 40s, you already had Alan Scott and Jay Garrick.
So you're talking about the Flash of Two Worlds?
Yes,
that's a great story. Flash of Two Worlds is really good. That's the first. Yeah. I think that's where they introduced the Flash of the Silver Ages, which was the older Flash that had the
winged
metal
helmet.
Worker had. Yeah, the winged helmet and the metal that metal kind of iron worker helmet.
Yeah, he had like the giant like metal fishbowl thing on his head with the lightning bolt.
Yes.
So what year are we talking about now?
I want to say that's the late 70s. Hold on, let me look that up actually, because now you have me curious as to when that book exactly.
No, it was definitely before the late 70s.
Wait, when that storyline or when the character?
No, the storyline.
When that storyline, because
yeah.
I'm just trying to get an understanding when did all this insanity about
1961.
Universes?
There you go.
So 1961 is about when multiverses started becoming the trope, if you will.
So the big storyline that kind of merged all this together would be the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, which is back in
it was 83,
85.
Yeah, but it was such a.
It kind of got out of control at that point. Yeah.
It's a marker though. It is pre-Crisis and post-Crisis in the DC universe.
So
it was such a difference.
So to explain a little bit on what Doug's talking about with Crisis is, nowadays a crisis on a DC storyline is considered a super major event. A lot of things
crazy cataclysmic, universe changing.
Exactly, which is exactly what happened in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is where they took this idea of all of these different Earths that existed, which, as they call them, were infinite Earths, and they all began to destroy themselves. So something was the big whole shtick was something was destroying them, and no one was really sure what it was.
Global warming.
Al Gore. Al Gore was destroying the multiverse.
Al Gore invented global warming.
So Al Gore. So in other words, Al Gore is the anti-monitor. What?
Al Gore is the anti-monitor.
Al Gore is the anti-monitor. Well, so kind of given
who watches The Watchmen? Al Gore.
So Marv Wolfman takes this idea of the infinite Earths and he uses it to kind of condense all of these Earths. Because all of a sudden you have this big bad villain called the Anti-Monitor going around destroying them and like literally erasing them from existence. This is also the same storyline where the Barry Allen Flash sacrificed himself to save the multiverse.
To save everything.
It's true. But just going back to one of the reasons that they really wanted this to happen is they had different universes, as I said, but like they had different teams in different universes. They had the Justice Society of America, JSA, and they were kind of their own Earths. And they had, the regular like Justice League Earth, and then they had kind of a few Silver Age remnant Earths around, and they had like a Shazam universe, and they wanted to bring it all together and have all their characters in one universe with one continuity, because there were so many contradicting story points over the decades, because everyone was just like, it doesn't count. This is standalone.
They kind
of wanted to streamline everything, put all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Right.
It kind of becomes like a reboot, so to speak, so that now people can be like, oh, so this happened, and this is the story of what happened. So like,
and
it was
to build on what you just at the time it was the reboot. But DC does something like this once every like 10 or 15 years. Where they kind of, it's because saying now that it's a reboot might not be the right word, but they'll kind of hit the reset button, but they'll go everything, or they'll tell you what's doing what, if that makes any sense.
Well, like you're just saying, though, there's so much going on in all these different continuities that it's, how the hell do you keep track of that? I mean, like, like I'm a big fan of like the Star Wars back when it was the expanded universe before Disney got their hands on it.
So actually, it's funny that you bring that up. So in 1989, the first what DC called the Elseworld imprint was released. So it was actually a story that was considered out of continuity, but it was considered a world in kind of that multiverse. They call DC called it the Elseworlds. I don't know if you guys know what that means.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Yeah. So that was actually Gotham by Gaslight. It was a Batman story where Batman was in Victorian London fighting Jack the Ripper.
That story's really good. In Blackest Night, I want to say, is another one.
Oh, that's right. Where
Bruce Wayne was got a Green Lantern ring right after his parents were killed.
Yes, that's right. That's another one from actually back then. I remember they made a whole line of Batman Elseworld stories where like one was he became a vampire.
That was a trilogy.
Blood Rain? Yeah, it was.
There was 3 of them.
Yeah, there were 3 of them. That was a trilogy. And then also one of the big ones that I'd like to mention because it's probably one of my favorites is the Red Sun Superman storyline.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
classic. That is really good. Not to sidetrack or not talk about that because I do want to jump into that, but Justice League the Nail I think was a part of that line as well.
What happened in that one? I don't remember that one.
That was what if Ma and Pa Kent on the way to go like out on the drive where they eventually find like little baby Clark. What if their truck got a nail in the tire and they had to pull over?
Oh my god, they never make it?
Nope.
So what happened?
No. Little baby Clark is picked up by Amish people.
Seriously.
Dead serious.
Whoa. So what does he do? Like churn butter even quicker?
Super butter churning powers.
Yeah.
Seriously.
He weaves so many baskets.
Whoa.
No. But he's lived in a lifestyle where he's taught modesty and not leaving the culture. And so there is no Superman in the universe. I mean, he exists, but nobody knows he does. He's never done anything, and he never interferes with anything.
Well, I mean, spoilers for the story. He does become Superman by the end of it.
Oh, Yeah, but
mean,
I'm just thinking what an Amish superhero would be like.
I feel like that's kind of the destiny of Superman, regardless. I don't know if you guys read what story is it? It's a Superman story that kind of takes place in our real world where
Secret Identity.
Yeah, Secret Identity Superman. Thank you.
Secret Identity is really good.
Yeah, Secret Identity is phenomenal.
So what's the hook with that one?
It's an idea of this family who likes comic books, and they have a son, and his name is, they call him Clark Kent. People make
they're the Kent family, and they named their kid Clark.
Yeah,
and he's fucking pissed about it.
Yeah, he is not happy about that at all. But as he gets older, he comes to discover he has the same powers as Superman from the comic books.
That's a nice inconvenience to have.
Yeah, it's a really nice inconvenience to have. Listen, it seems kind of stupid, but to be quite honest with you, the story actually turns out to be it's kind of a situation where now you get to see, like, is your destiny based on like how you're raised or like your powers, or it's a great story, really good to read.
It's really good.
It's really good. Like I
agree.
You know what I was thinking it sounds more like is God, remember the movie Ed TV and the Truman Show?
Yeah. I remember the Truman Show.
I remember the Truman Show.
But like people used to piss and moan and saying that Ed TV was a blatant ripoff of Truman Show, and I never thought that was true, because Truman Show was what happens if your life is a sitcom, or you are on television but you don't know. But the Ed TV was, you know. Like this whole Secret Identity, it sounds like the whole shtick is Superman, the real Superman, is out doing his thing, whatever, he's just got a moral compass and all that stuff. This is, you're in a world where there's a comic book about this guy named Superman, but you are that guy. It sounds like it's like layers there in a way.
There are layers.
Yeah,
there's definitely layers to that story. And like I said, it's I feel like that's one of those stories that like I should mention in our citations later on. That's something that people should probably read.
Definitely.
Now, but I heard you also mention too something about Red Son Superman, because I think I heard they're making a movie on that.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to bring that back.
Are they making a movie for Red Son Superman?
I think they're doing an animated movie.
That would make much more sense.
That would be so good. So the premise of Red Son Superman is
break it down for me.
Yeah. Oh my God. So what if Superman, instead of landing in the American heartland, landed in Russia during Soviet Russia?
And a lot of these Superman Elseworld stories is a lot of like, what if he crash landed here, or what if he was picked up by these people? Superman's now a penguin.
A lot of the silly ones are based that way.
There was actually a little bit after Red Son came out. There's a quote unquote sequel where what if he crash landed in like 1960s Britain?
Oh, it became like a British superhero? That's amazing.
Yeah, apparently I haven't read it, but it's played up as a comedy.
That's fantastic. I need to pick that up somehow. I've never heard that one. But regardless,
you were saying Red Son?
So Red Son kind of goes into this idea of what if Superman became a Soviet superhero, raised on Soviet ideals, raised on the communist ideals. And it tells you, it goes through a really interesting kind of story where Lex Luthor is still an American businessman, but he's fighting against him for the American people, so to speak, against the whole big Red Scare, the fact that, the Soviets have a superpowered individual. So it fuels the arms race of superheroes to fight against Superman.
But you see, the thing about Superman, though, is, everything I've ever read with him or seen with him is that he's always been a very goody two shoes.
He is, and he's a goody two shoes to the Russian sensibilities at the time, to what the ideas of communism and socialism are.
He's still strong moral convictions.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine, the Soviet Superman saying like, okay, crush capitalism and flying to America and kicking every CEO in the balls, like.
I mean, that wasn't what it was about for him. For him, it was more the idea of protecting the motherland, keeping the motherland, the Soviets safe, forwarding technology in the Soviet Union as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way you can summarize that character, instead of Superman fighting for true justice in the American way, he was fighting for the proletariat.
So, okay. Now, with these comics though, I mean, there's so much going on in DC. I mean, they couldn't do. Are there any other characters in it that are notable besides
Oh,
Lex
absolutely.
Luthor?
You have
Yeah.
you have Batman. You've got Green Lantern.
we get Babushka wearing
Oh
Batman.
yeah, Babushka wearing Batman. No, he's wearing the big Soviet hat. The big
I thought that
furry hats.
No, the
isn't that a
babushka is the rag that
Yes.
it's the,
right,
the old
okay.
ladies wear that.
Sorry, I'm getting my Russian stereotypes wrong, guys.
Eastern European.
No,
God.
he's a freedom fighter. Batman is a freedom fighter fighting against the ideas of totalitarianism that Superman represented. And
Job.
he tries to fight against Superman, and it doesn't work. On top of
Not even a little bit.
exactly, no, not even at all. And on top of the fact that at this point, Superman actually also teams up with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes,
Aren't they like technically not? No.
So let
I
me
don't know if
guess.
they're married, but-
Is Wonder Woman from Kazakhstan in this version?
no, she's still from Themyscira. Wonder Woman's always from Themyscira.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't at some point Hal Jordan and the American Air Force
Green
somehow
Lanterns?
get a bunch of Green Lantern rings and attack Russia and Superman?
I want to say that Lex Luthor had gotten the ring, and then
Yes, Lex Luthor captured
had
the ring.
enlisted, and then he found a way to reverse engineer it, and then gave it to all of the Air Force.
That's
Yes.
correct.
So you at one point had a Superman versus 12, 20 Green Lanterns at once.
I mean, our Air Force was the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Corps,
Which is pretty amazing, to be honest with you. And
right? Like,
I think-
it was cool.
I feel that's a good place right now where we should probably take a break, let the audience kind of take in everything that's been going on, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about some of our favorite multiverse storylines, because there's a lot to talk about.
there's so much to talk about.
Guys, stay tuned. Thank you.
Within the multiverse, there are millions and trillions and billions of possibilities, and millions and billions and trillions of heroes, and millions and billions and trillions and millions and billions and billions and trillions of billions and trillions of endless tropes. But if we look at this pale dot, you'll also see there are millions and trillions and billions of omniverses. And somewhere there's 52 universes. But then we go out, and then we see there are millions and billions and trillions and gajillions and trillions and billions and billions.
And we're back. We are talking about the multiverse and all the various stories that come with it. This big bad universe that we exist in. Doug, if you want to kind of just talk about some of the Marvel stuff, because I know you're a big fan of Marvel and talking about all the things that they have to offer.
I'm actually a big fan of both. I just happen to have read more Marvel than I think you guys have had an opportunity to. My dad used to have comic book stores, so I kind of was privileged in that sense. But okay, so What If is a classic Marvel series. It used to be a monthly, and they would just ask what if, and it would take a Marvel event and ask what would happen differently. What if the X-Men lost Inferno? Inferno was a classic storyline where they fought some alternate dimension demons and such. And then so basically the what ifs issue would be just the storyline, what happens when they lose. And
So I really liked the what if line as a kid. Wasn't there a what if the Punisher actually succeeded in killing Spider-Man and then rolled it on into killing the Marvel Universe?
actually, that was not a what if. That was a series called Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe.
Oh well.
Wow.
Would that be
So-
considered part of the multiverse?
Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
So what does the Punisher do in Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe?
Actually, yeah, fine. It's no problem. I'll tell you. So okay, you know how in the mainstream continuity, his family gets gunned down by criminals, or in the MCU by Black Ops people.
Right.
Sure.
in this comic, his family is killed in the crossfire of a superhero versus supervillain battle.
Oh.
And after the battle's over, the heroes all come to console him, and he's just kind of paralyzed, and he just grabs his sidearm and shoots a few of them in the head. So I remember specifically, he shot Cyclops and Hawkeye in the head, and I think someone else, and I think Captain America blocked it.
So Cyclops gets what he deserves.
Well, to be fair, I'd probably shoot Hawkeye in the head too if I had the chance. So, I mean, who wouldn't? Come on.
Oh, man,
man.
Two characters I love. That hurts. Okay. But after that, like, he's restrained, he escapes or whatever, because they're like, yeah, he snapped his blah blah blah. But anyway, so he sets about, no, all people with powers and all vigilantes must die. I know that's a little bit of irony there, but
yeah.
It's kind of hypocritical, yeah.
yeah.
I was about to say, it's something kind of more like the old X-Men cartoon where it's, everyone's just trying to kill or capture all the mutants. He's just, doesn't need giant robots. He just has giant guns.
Yeah, but he sets about basically hunting down various heroes. Like, it started with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was fighting Venom, and they were both like really beat up, and they crashed through the street into the sewer, and the Punisher is just kind of waiting there with a minigun, and while they're both staggering to get back to their feet, he guns down Venom. And Spider-Man can't even stand up. He's too dazed. And Punisher stands over him, and Spider-Man just goes, "Why?" And Punisher just goes, "Because somebody had to be first."
Wow.
What?
Now,
it's a pretty good
the
line.
thing I can never get over with the Punisher, though, is that like how come he's the only one that seems to be able to shoot other superheroes? I mean, like you would think, like, in any of the other ones, like how come, like oh God, yeah, just think about it. Like, imagine Civil War, just like Captain America comes running towards Spider-Man. Spider-Man goes, "Okay," whips out a Glock. And, how come Punisher could do it? How come Spider-Man can't?
He's the only one with a license to carry.
Yeah.
He's got a concealed carry license. He's the only one. He's the only one.
Forethought, man. Forethought, planning.
I gotta tell you, I honestly, I am not a big fan of the Punisher.
The Punisher doesn't work in the overall like regular continuity Marvel universe where there's these people with superpowers. A guy with guns just doesn't work.
He's not meant to really interact with them much.
No, he's not.
I never used to like the Punisher. Garth Ennis made the Punisher one of my favorite characters.
I would argue that Garth Ennis' run is like the only good one.
Well, for the most part, yeah.
You're trying to tell me Frankencastle was good?
No.
In what sounds like a what-if multiverse story, Frank Castle gets killed.
Yes, I've heard this.
And then gets, like, literally, they turn him into Frankenstein.
They do.
They like, patch stick him together with other people's limbs and shit, and then they bring him back to life.
That's
because his name
is a thing that happened.
Is Frank Castle? He's Frankencastle.
That's... Oh my God, that's like somebody.
They ran this.
Yeah.
They
So
ran this
dumb.
as a storyline. I forget the year, but they did it in October.
That's taking the pun way too far, man.
Yeah, and this wasn't like some Silver Age nonsense. This happened in like the aughts.
It was
or
supposed to
even
be-
in
It was supposed to be like
2010s
some
maybe.
kind of gritty horror reboot to.
They were doing anything. They were trying to throw anything at some of these characters just to do something different.
I bet you that writer's just more a fan of that NSYNC video where they're all dressed up like Universal monsters.
Excuse you, that was the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, shucks.
And that was everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Backstreet's backs in parentheses.
All right. God.
Hey, on that note,
Yeah.
what
Yes.
other?
I can't wait for my Backstreet Boys MCU crossover. Let's go, Disney.
No. Anyway, back to the What If though. But as a series, What If
What if the
continued?
Backstreet Boys killed the Marvel Universe?
Well, they're
First one in line. Let's go.
they're killing our flow right now. So, no. So What If was a monthly series, usually a single issue, nothing long, just very self-contained. So, occasionally a two-parter. They discontinued as a main series a long time ago, but after their like major events, like that they tend to do every year, they'll often put out a couple what if issues about different things that could have happened in that scenario.
Right. Didn't they do and I want to say this was either the early 90s or the late 80s. The Fantastic Four got lost, so we had like the quote unquote new Fantastic Four with Wolverine, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and the Hulk. Wasn't there a what if that like the Fantastic Four never came back and they stayed on?
Yes, there is. And also there's a random one I love because it's my favorite from my childhood.
What if Aunt May became the Herald of Galactus?
No.
Oh.
Okay, so
that's not a joke, by the way. That was a thing.
Yeah.
Wait,
also, what? Yeah. It was a joke issue, but it did happen.
Wow.
Anyway, so for fans who may not know, the X-Men and Dracula, surprisingly enough, have a pretty long history.
Really?
Tell me more.
And the most amazing part about that is it's not a multiverse thing.
Wait, so they actually interact in 616.
Mainstream continuity.
With
several occasions.
I'm sure that this is just Wolverine versus Dracula for eternity.
Dracula's a major character in the MCU. What are you talking about?
Of course he is.
I mean, Blade is a major character in the MCU, so...
Wasn't there a big storyline with Dracula versus Apocalypse?
Yes, there was. Well, it wasn't a big storyline. It was a 4-issue miniseries.
I mean,
it's big for Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah, that actually took place in main continuity, too. It just took place in the past.
I mean, it makes sense to have vampires. I mean, space is filled with them.
Yeah.
Seriously, you would never know if there's vampires in space because you look through a telescope. How do you see through a telescope? A mirror.
Oh, somebody get Neil deGrasse Tyson on the phone. We gotta fund the Space Force.
I forgive you for that tangent because that made me laugh. But no, my favorite issue as a kid was what if Wolverine became Lord of the Vampires? And it was set during a real storyline where Dracula was kind of in the middle of transforming Storm into a vampire, but like over time for some reason.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
So can we stop for a minute on the Storm being a vampire? Isn't that like a thing that is actually in the Marvel Universe right now?
I want to say that there's an alternate version of Storm. I want to say there is a what if she actually became a vampire, and I want to say she popped up in Secret Wars at some point as like Bloodwind or something.
Bloodstorm.
Am I going crazy? There we go, Bloodstorm.
And Bloodstorm is actually a character from another alternate reality miniseries called Mutant X.
Okay.
Which is where mainstream 616 Havoc, Cyclops' brother, got shunted into this parallel universe and teamed up with a bunch of alternate versions of the X-Men that had all been warped in some way. Like Storm was a vampire, and
I feel like there's a lot of storylines with alternate X-Men.
Yeah, there really are.
Isn't the current X-Men just like the original team from the past brought to the present?
One of the teams of X-Men, but yes. Anyway,
Doug, you're making my head hurt. Stop it.
But yeah, so
I'm a fan of comics, and Marvel's confusing me.
How do you think I feel? I'm the idiot of the group.
No, but yeah, so that was just my favorite as a kid because Wolverine comes back as a vampire, overwills Dracula's control over him, kills him, and then basically goes about turning all the heroes and villains into vampires too. And
how does that work, though? Wouldn't Wolverine's healing factor stop the, I guess, vampire infection?
It actually,
I don't know how vampires work.
It actually did in a recent in-continuity storyline where they fought Dracula again.
Of course.
Wow.
I'm telling you, multiple encounters.
All I can think now is I always hear about the alternate version of The Room where Tommy Wiseau wrote Johnny to be a vampire.
Maybe Johnny Vampire.
Maybe Johnny Vampire. Now it doesn't sound as crazy hearing all this shit about the Storm and Wolverine becoming vampire.
Oh man, I really want the MCU The Room crossover.
Good Lord. Sign me up.
Book it, Disney.
I just like the idea of Lisa being a Disney princess. Anything for my princess.
Lisa, you're so sexy.
My God.
Oh, hi, Logan. How's your sex life? I'm not sure what's funnier, that or oh, hi, Scott.
I feel like I'm one of those few people who has not seen The Room.
You haven't lived.
I know.
You can't feel me glare, or you can't see me glaring at you.
I know.
You can feel it.
It's palpable.
It needs to be done. Like that movie. That movie's an experience. It's not even a movie. You know
Somebody
what I mean? You know what I'm
explained
saying?
it best as a film student. You should watch that so you know exactly what not to do when making a movie.
All right. Well, to get back on track of alternate realities. In an alternate reality, a multiverse situation, that movie was actually good. It won awards.
You mean it's not?
Exactly. Speaking of the amount of alternate universe X-Men running around, didn't they form a team at one point?
The X-Force?
No,
no,
specifically the alternate version.
That's something different. Yeah, it didn't stick consistently with mutants or X-Men characters, but it is how it started, and it is a perfect example of using the multiverse in several different ways. Okay, so a bunch of alternate versions of characters that you all know, or most of you know anyway.
Name 5.
Sabretooth.
I know that guy.
Mimic, Blink.
Mm-hmm.
You would know Blink through the movies.
Okay.
Okay, you wouldn't know Thunderbird.
I do actually.
I don't.
Fair enough.
Thunder. Okay, have you ever seen the X-Men animated series?
Yes.
You know the stereotypical Native American guy running in the credits?
Oh crap, that guy.
That's Thunderbird.
I was thinking of who's the wolf guy from Mortal Kombat 3? Nightwolf. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
There you go.
And there's also an alternate female version of Sunfire, an alternate reality version of the daughter of Nightcrawler and the Scarlet Witch called Nocturne.
I just like the fact that 2 of these characters so far are the names of Pontiac vehicles.
And
there was Blink, and there was Sabretooth, and Toyota Camry, and Honda Accord.
But anyway, so these were all pulled from...
What if Wolverine bought a Mercedes and ran over the Marvel Universe?
All right. But these alternate versions are all pulled from different realities
drive.
by this force called the Time Broker. And basically they're tasked with saving alternate realities from like these points of divergence that aren't supposed to happen. That would make the reality crumble.
Like Wolverine driving over the universe in a Mercedes.
Yes, just like that.
Tell Cyclops I made him a convertible.
The exiles would be sent to stop them. So they jump from universe to universe, like parallel worlds, all kinds of different ones. And one of the interesting things is that whenever one of the characters dies, and characters die frequently, they are like immediately replaced by an alternate version of a different character from a different universe.
I'm stuck on this whole car things. I was hoping that their spirit would be put into a car, like that television show.
Morph could turn into a car.
I mean, at this rate, because I want to say that Marvel had the rights to Transformers.
I thought they still do.
Do they?
I think no, they're not writing. Transformers is IDW, I believe now.
Because they really missed the boat.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, they could have just thrown Optimus Prime in any of these What If stories.
Oh my god.
Done and done. We did it, guys.
Yes.
Book it.
So go.
No, but as a kid, I really ate up the idea of these What If stories because like I really loved Marvel when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, up until about the Clone Saga, and that burned me.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we all would probably have our own stories about that.
Speaking about Spider-Man, actually, so Spider-Man actually had his own kind of multiverse situation too, where they called something a storyline that they called the Spider-Verse. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah. The Spider-Man.
Is that Sony movie that's coming out soon?
It's actually roughly based on the Spider-Verse storyline. So in the Spider-Verse storyline, it turns out like there's also like Marvel has this weird thing where there's like some kind of interdimensional web that connects all the different Marvel universes where there is a Spider-Man. And at one point that all the different Spider-Men are being hunted by these interdimensional spider vampires, if you will.
Oh, Jesus.
Back to the vampires.
Yes, back to the vampires.
What is with Marvel and these vampires? All right, Paulo, what you're telling me here is that Marvel went, hey, you like Spider-Man? Everybody's Spider-Man now.
That's what they did. That's what
you get a Spider-Man, and you get a Spider-Man, and you get a Spider-Man, and you get a Spider-Man.
There's
everybody is Spider-Man.
There's
Didn't they do a I want to say too, after this they ended up doing a sequel called Venomverse, which is literally the same thing I just said. They were like, yo,
everybody's Venom.
Remember how sick Venom was in the 90s, bruh?
Dude.
Everyone is Venom now. Wolverine's got a Venom symbiote. The Avengers are all Venom.
They've done that. Marvel has done that.
There was a
multiple
bunch of
times.
dinosaurs in Manhattan that were all Venom.
Marvel has done that multiple times. Yes.
They have.
It's like I wish I could say that was like a part of their Venomverse storyline, but yes, they had multiple versions of stories where everyone became Venom. Like what was it?
They're running it now.
Symbiote Island, something like that. I think it was called. Like,
it was like Spider Island or something, right? And everybody was Spider-Man.
That sounds like a weird Thursday afternoon Fox reality television show from the 90s.
There's also, I believe, it was a New Avengers or Mighty Avengers issue where somebody triggered a satellite doomsday weapon that Dr. Doom had, which is basically like a symbiote bomb, which basically just you drop on a city and it explodes with symbiotes to just take over everybody.
Yeah.
And that was just like a 1 or 2 issue thing. But yeah, it's happened a lot in the past.
Yeah, like I'm not trying. Like, I feel like I come off like I'm hating on Marvel a lot, but like, man, when you just keep recycling these things to see if they stick, it's like, it's tiring.
No, I know what you're talking about. I feel like Marvel. They're
Marvel's like, yo, you like Dracula? Everybody's fighting Dracula. Yo, you like Beowulf? Venom's Beowulf now. Or Grendel, excuse me. It's like, yo, you like Beowulf? Venom's Grendel now. That's actually a real thing that's happening.
Really? That's currently Venom, isn't it?
That's currently a thing.
Well, no. So going back to the Spider-Verse, which is actually exactly what. But going back to the Spider-Verse story, which is actually really interesting because what they did was they took the more popular alternate Spider-Man. So, for example, they took the Spider-Man Noir, which was a Spider-Man from the like a detective era Spider-Man.
I just like that you keep saying Spider-Man now.
You know what? You're not the first person to do that to me.
I'm gonna go call my lawyer, Jeremy Spider-Man, attorney at law.
I remember Howard Stern making that joke around the same time as the first Spider-Man movie. He thought I was saying Spiderman.
Well,
he's like a Jewish
guys,
superhero.
Man, this joke is from Friends. Come on,
I got Jerry Spider-Man and Antonio.
Oh, I hate Friends.
X-Men.
I hate Friends.
Yeah,
I
know. And
are you trying to tell me you're not going to be there for me?
Oh, god damn it.
Well,
no, I was thinking of Futurama. How come he doesn't eat the smaller one?
Right.
Well, so one of the things that came out of that Spider-Verse storyline was they introduced some actually interesting characters. Like some interesting alternate Spider-Man. So, for example, we have from that Spider-Verse the Gwen Stacy version of Spider-Man. It's an alternate universe where instead of Peter Parker being bitten by the spider, Gwen Stacy got bitten by the spider.
Isn't that the Spider-Gwen?
Yeah, Spider-Gwen.
I believe it is.
Yes, and she's actually
Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen.
Wait. All right, I'm gonna sound really stupid. Was she the other love interest in Spider-Man 3?
The original. The original blood. Yeah, and
she was the blonde one.
Yes.
The one that dies at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Spoilers for that movie. Don't go see it. It's not very good.
Oh my god. None of the Spider-Man movie held up. I keep saying it. None of them hold up.
I enjoy 2 to this day.
So here's the thing, because I was saying before how Marvel will just take an idea and run it into the ground. So Gwen Stacy Spider-Gwen got popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh man, let's see what else we could do with her. Gwenpool exists.
Oh
it's
god,
Gwen Stacy,
yeah,
it's Gwen Stacy as
Deadpool.
Oh man, Deadpool's really popular. Everything's Deadpool. The Deadpool core exists. You got Lady Deadpool and Baby Deadpool and Dino Deadpool,
Dracula
and
Deadpool.
I'm sure.
Most
Dracula
of them are
Deadpool
dead now,
exists.
though. For the record, they had like a Deadpool war where they decided that they needed
Of course
to get
they
rid of
did.
him.
Pontiac Firebird Deadpool.
But on the plus side, though, it was all of the extraneous Deadpools killing each other and getting rid of them.
I mean, this is one of those reasons that I personally, at least on a personal level,
Pontiac
prefer
Firebird with the Deadpool man.
prefer the DC multiverse over the Marvel multiverse. Like the Marvel multiverse is kind of all over the place, and they run things into the ground. The DC multiverse actually writes interesting stories with what they're doing.
If anything, they try not to run these things into
exactly.
the ground, you know what I mean?
So, for example, they had a storyline in 2014 called The Multiversity. With Grant Morrison writing that. I don't know if you guys have read that or have had it just kind of recommended to you.
I've seen Monsters University. Does that count?
It's close. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yes, clearly.
Well, what's even funnier, too, is that the French version of Multiversity also has George St. Pierre doing a voice.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah. The French language version of Monsters, Inc. University has George St. Pierre.
I am very disappointed in your performance.
Former UFC welter and middleweight champion.
Well, so kind of just to give you an example of what the Multiversity is actually Grant Morrison taking what DC does is the 52 universes that they have that are kind of, they're multiverse. They're everything that exists within their continuity, within their universe, and it maps it out and it writes a story of superheroes from different versions of these Earths coming together to take on a threat that is
a giant multiversal threat.
Yes.
It's almost like a multiversal version of the Justice League. They kind of put together to protect the multiverse as a whole.
Yes.
And when Paolo was saying that like Grant Morrison mapped out the multiverse, that's not even like he's not even being facetious.
No, he's being literal.
Yeah.
There is a literal map that's drawn out.
Yes, a map that actually exists and puts you where every single one of the multiverses exists in the written universe of the DC universe, and they actually use that in like the actual map is in a panel of that Dark Knight's Metal book that we were talking about earlier, which is probably going to have to be an episode in and of itself that we'll talk about at some point.
Oh, the Dark Knight's Metal is crazy expansive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and interesting.
So where do you say you get this map you're talking about? You can just buy it online or something?
You can actually
No,
just Google
it's
it.
literally in the comic.
Oh,
or you could Google it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, bring it up now.
That multiversal story is fantastic. The Multiversity is probably one of the more interesting books written that use, like, so for example, you have one universe that has it's kind of like a cartoon universe, like DC's version of the Looney Tunes without it actually being the Looney Tunes, so to speak.
Oh, you're talking about the Zoo Crew,
yeah,
right?
the Zoo Crew, Captain Rabbit.
Oh, Captain Carrot's fantastic.
Captain Carrot's fantastic. He eats a carrot. He's a bunny that eats a carrot, and he has like superpowers.
Whoa.
Yeah,
he literally fights with cartoon logic.
Nice. That's
exactly. Like it becomes, and we have Barack Obama Superman.
We do.
What?
Yes, Barack Obama Superman and his wife Michelle Obama as Wonder Woman.
That is only fitting.
It's a lot of
No,
fun.
I'm just saying, man, because Michelle Obama, man, she looked like she doesn't take anything, like.
Oh, she doesn't.
Yeah, like that's one of the reasons why I bring up the Spider-Verse, because the Spider-Verse was one of those actually really fun and well done Marvel multiverse stories, because they actually have a main threat that they have to fight. They bring in characters from other universes and use them. At one point, they bring in a Japanese mecha Spider-Man.
Oh wait, so they bring in the Japanese Spider-Man from the 70s?
Yes,
I was about to say, yeah.
Yes, the Japanese
happened.
Spider-Man from the 70s in his mecha to fight against these guys.
Yeah.
That panel was fantastic. I lost it when I saw that because it's not something you always see. And it harkens back to an age where like people are just like, oh my God, I can't believe they brought that up as part of a universe that's there. It was, I personally thought it was kind of catchy.
So I'm sorry, man.
It was
You
a
have
fun reference.
You have me sold that Mecha Spider-Man. What comic book is that in?
That's called the Spider-Verse. It's literally just look up the Spider-Verse.
It's part of okay.
And it's its own kind of little universe, and you don't really need to read a lot of backstory to kind of understand it. They do their own little background before.
Have any you guys seen the trailer for that Spider-Man animated movie that's coming out?
fantastic.
Yeah,
It does look pretty
It
neat.
does look really good.
I do really like the idea of Donald Glover voicing Miles Morales.
I was about to say that was starring Miles, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
And beautiful, because honestly, I was just going to say, honestly, a lot of people thought Donald Glover should have been cast as Spider-Man. Like, I mean, and I don't mean Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
Peter Parker.
Yeah, because frankly, I think he could play either character.
I think that guy could do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic.
I'd argue
about everything he does.
I'd argue that he's one of the funniest comedians of the past 10
Well-
years. He's one of the best musical artists of the past 10
Again,
And he's
Yeah.
so dope. Like, yeah.
Again, that's another example of Marvel doing multiverse right. So the character of Miles Morales is actually from the Ultimates universe. Now we've covered,
Mhm.
we've talked about the Ultimates a little bit, where it's a reimagining
yeah.
of the
Mhm.
Marvel universe for people who kind of want a more newer take on it. Like it's more modern.
Right.
You know, Peter Parker is a teenager again, as opposed to being an adult now,
Yeah.
where he is now in the main Marvel
And,
continuity.
and you don't have to deal with the backstory. It's just fresh start.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
you
Right,
get
right,
you
right.
re-get the backstories, which is what was great about the Ultimates. And again, I feel it's one of those must reads if you like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because a lot of the characters from the Ultimates,
Are now just part of the main Marvel
exactly,
universe.
not only are part of the main Marvel Universe, but they're also the basis of what they created the characters for the Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and we will touch upon that in a future episode. But
so now the Ultimates though, is that, do I just, if I want to get into the Ultimates, do I just look for Ultimates, or is it like Ultimates and then there's a specific character?
You should read the Ultimates Volume 1, the Ultimates 2 Volume 1
Yeah.
Don't read
and-
Ultimates
and then
3.
that's it.
Look, I was going to say the Ultimates is
Stay away from Ultimates 3.
the book that's just
Please.
the book that's just called the Ultimates is basically Ultimate Avengers, but there's also Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four, all of them great.
Ultimate Fantastic Four is fantastic.
Yes.
Like no pun intended.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I was never really into these characters, and who knew making who knew making the four of them like all 18 years old, or making like Ben Grimm in like his early 20s
Mhm.
would have made him interesting.
who wrote
It
Ultimate
did.
Fantastic Four? That was Bendis.
Ultimate
that-
Fantastic Four? No.
No, it wasn't Bendis.
Yes, it was.
Was that
the author?
Mike
Mike-
Mills?
no, it's Bendis.
Is it really?
Yeah, he wrote them. He started them.
Well, so he
Really?
started them, but
Yeah.
I don't think he wrote the entire.
He wrote it
he-
up until issue number 18.
Okay.
So, all right. So, Ultimates, as far as Marvel goes, check that out. Spider-Verse, check that out. Now, from what you guys are saying, it sounds like recommending anything else from Marvel is a bit of a hard sell because
Exiles. You got Exiles is it's if anyone remembers the show Sliders, it's basically superhero sliders.
Yeah, that's a good way.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
wait, Exiles, Exiles.
Yeah,
Ah.
just like the word, not like the letter X dash Isles. Like,
Well,
like
if it's from the '90s, you can't be too sure.
no, I don't think it's from the '90s. It's from.
I thought it was late 90s, early 2000s.
It might have been late '90s, but I thought it was. Let me see.
Well, the whole
Google
like
does it.
Yeah,
you know,
2001.
we weren't quite out of the whole extreme everything
Right
yet
at the
by
beginning of 2001.
Right.
Yeah, it was on its way out, but
I
it's
actually,
still
one of the suggestions I like to make to a lot of people is if you kind of want to see, again, another good crossover with the mainstream Marvel continuity and something else, I like to recommend Marvel 1602 to people because that's written by
that's
Neil
a-
Gaiman.
Oh.
there. Oh, the guy that did American Gods.
And Sandman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And Sandman, yeah. So that's
So here's
Whoa.
here's my here's
Sandman, the
only reason-
Metallica song.
Yeah, man.
No, something much better.
yes. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, no, Sandman's fantastic. No, where I was going with that is that Marvel 1602 is a really interesting concept until you get to the plot twist.
Well, do we want to let the readers?
And-
Do we want to let the readers find that out, or do we
No,
want
no,
to?
no.
No.
No,
Just
no.
knowing that there's a plot twist.
Yeah, exactly.
Already
We've
compromises it.
already said too much.
He's
Move on.
whole time.
Yeah, but to me, it ruins the whole story. It cheapens the whole thing and kind of like harkens back to Marvel dropping the ball.
Well, I think that means we have to let fans figure that out.
I
That's
think
fair. I'll
that's
let 'em
more
do-
for
I'll
people
let 'em do
to
it.
people to decide. It's one of those kind of polarizing stories. I personally love it. I think it's very well done. The plot twist kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense to why everything happens the way it happens in the story. But I mean, I guess that's for the audience to decide more than anything else. And then we also spoke about the Secret Wars from 2015, which is the collapse of the Marvel multiverse.
Now, would I need to be well read on traditional 616 and Ultimates before I read something like that?
I'm gonna say without reading the 2015 one, I'm gonna say yes. Am I wrong in this?
It's complicated. I want to also
'Cause
agree with Ed that it is, but at the same time, you can take it as kind of like its own story because it's exactly what we mentioned, where Doctor Doom pretty much becomes God and reforges some semblance of a world, and he calls it Battle World. It's pretty much different bits and pieces of the Marvel different universes, and kind of makes it his own so that everyone can survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I was gonna go with that is like you can read it as your own thing, and I guess it's like it's a fun standalone story. But if you know what's going on with like the Ultimates and everything else that he's like patch sticking together, then it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
It is.
Where I feel like when DC does things like that, it definitely helps if you have the background. But if you don't, they explain it for you.
Yeah.
I actually have a great example of an alternate reality, alternate universe Marvel story that would be great for that. Earth X.
That's right, Earth X.
It's a trilogy, Earth X, Universe X, and Paradise X. But you can read Earth X and be happy with it if you don't feel like reading the others.
I was just about to say that Earth X is pretty good, and then everything else slowly falls off a cliff.
I don't know if it falls off a cliff, but it definitely goes in some weird directions. But I got some of it.
Doesn't fall off a cliff, definitely rolls down a hill.
Yeah, but
Definitely.
I like some of the tumbles though. But yeah, Earth X was from 99, Universe X was from 2000, and Paradise X was from 2002.
You know, if we're gonna talk about Alex Ross painted graphic novels,
Oh, Kingdom Come.
Yeah,
I was going to say Kingdom Come, but I was first going to say Justice.
Justice isn't so much a alternate story, though.
It's pretty much What If the Super Friends got kind of gritty.
Yeah, okay, you could say that.
It's pretty much like the last will and testament of the Super Friends.
I like that. I like that.
that's a good way to
Because like
put it.
shit gets real.
Yeah, and then going on, and then just to kind of wrap it up with one of the last examples, the Kingdom Come storyline, which is an alternate telling an alternate future of the DC universe, of what happens when like DC gets a little too gritty and all of a sudden like superheroes decide to retire. But then
what happens if the older versions of like the Justice League have to deal with like the gritty extreme 90s?
Yes.
That's actually kind of
I like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. But it's a really good read and
very
beautiful.
Kind of. What if sounds like
what if the DC
Incredibles
universe?
almost.
Is that again?
It kind of sounds like the Incredibles in a way. That was kind of like the whole shtick with that. Is that 50s era superheroes in a modern era? They have to stop being superheroes because they're all getting sued.
Well, that's actually a storyline in JSA.
Yes, that is a storyline in JSA. Well, we'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah, Kingdom Come though, amazing, must read.
Yes, another one of those must reads for multiverse stories. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with Doug. It's a really great read. Well, I think that's about time to wrap it up. So just to kind of recap, the multiverse is a complicated place, and there's a lot of stuff that we can read, that we can recommend to read. Just to give you like a quick short list on things, and guys, add anything if you feel that I might have missed anything. But Crisis on Infinite Earths by Marv Wolfman, written in 1985. It's the story that pretty much puts the multiverse of the DC universe in its kind of main storyline.
On the map,
if you will. Yeah, that's correct. And then there's Superman Red Sun by Mark Millar, and that's a 2003 graphic novel. Batman Gotham by Gaslight by Brian Augustin, and was published back in 1989. The Multiversity by Grant Morrison, 2014.
Literally draws the map.
Exactly. And then on the Marvel end, you absolutely have to read The Ultimates by Mark Millar as well, from 2002.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse by Dan Slott. And honestly, Dan Slott's Spider-Man run in general, just to add, but he plays with a lot of fun stuff in that. But Spider-Verse, to be for sure, back in 2014. Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman. Again, if you want to go into the process of finding out more information, you would have to read his entire run of the Avengers, and that leads up into Secret Wars. And then again, Marvel 1602 by Neil Gaiman. Earth X, I believe, was also mentioned as a must-read. Who wrote Earth X? Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
Was that Mark Waid?
No, Jim Kruger.
Okay.
Gotcha. And then one last one for DC that, in my personal opinion, is a must read is Kingdom Come by who wrote Kingdom Come again?
Mark Waid.
Yeah, that was Mark Waid, by Mark Waid.
That was Mark Waid.
Yeah, and drawn by the beautiful work of Alex Ross. And I don't know if you guys know, but he is one of the most famous for drawing the hyper-realistic, actual looking like a person artwork.
Yeah, he usually does covers. He drew the series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Which was all. He also did the art for Earth X.
He did do the art for Earth X. You are correct. Huh. Yeah, all the more reason to read Earth X.
Yeah.
Guys,
And
is there anything I missed?
I would just like to tack on Exiles, the original run by Judd Winnick. That was from 2001.
Judd Winnick's fantastic too.
He's really underrated, man.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
guy's done so much.
Yeah. Ed, you got any recommendations, or you think we covered everything?
Dude, we'd be here all night if I was recommending multiverse type stuff. I mean, it's not so much a multiverse thing as it's like a love letter to, I guess, the character itself. But All-Star Superman.
Yes.
Yes, classic storyline.
Classic storyline written by Grant Morrison as well.
But it was recent, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it came
a
out as
recent
an instant
classic. Yeah, exactly, instant classic.
And you know what? If we're gonna talk multiverse, I don't think we brought this up at all. Speaking of just instant classic stories, American Alien.
I haven't read that.
Superman American Alien, written by Max Landis, and I forget who did all the art, but it was pretty much a Superman story starring Clark Kent as a kid.
Interesting.
And his story leading up to him being Superman.
Oh, sounds good. Well, you heard here, folks, all the other recommendations that we've got. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say there's just two things. Is that what was that name of the Superman one where he's in Russia?
Red Sun.
Red Sun.
Red Sun. I am definitely checking that out. And if Marvel's ever listening to this, freaking make a Pontiac Firebird Deadpool.
Get the rights back to Transformers. I need Pontiac Deadpool versus Optimus Prime.
I would see it.
Well, that about wraps it up for us tonight, guys. Again, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Do you guys want to sound off?
This has been Doug.
I'm Ed.
Say bye, Matt.
And I'm Paolo. Thanks for visiting us tonight. Have a good one.
If you have questions, a topic you would like us to cover, or wish to simply tell us all the facts we screwed up, feel free to contact us at Layman's Guide to the Multiverse at gmail.com. Also, feel free to visit our website at laymansguidetothemultiverse.com. Our intro music is Dance Rocket, off the album Descent of the Goober Monster by Jesse Spillane, and is licensed under an Attribution 4.0 International CC by 4.0 license, off http://freemusicarchive.org. Our intermission music is Crinoline Dreams by Kevin MacLeod off Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license, http://creativecommons.org/license/by/3.0/ and our outro music is Miami Nights Extended Theme, also by Kevin MacLeod, off Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license, http
creativecommons.org/creativecommons.org/license/by/3.0/